Have you ever had that one moment when you look back and you're like, that's when everything changed? For me, it was my first successful animal communication experience. I was over at my friend's house and I had this crazy dream. And I said, I have this crazy dream. I want to be like Dr. Dolittle. I want to talk to animals and I don't know how to do it. And she just looked at me and she said, really? That's totally who you are. I thought you were already doing that. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, how cool that you think it's who I am, but I haven't done it yet. And something was holding me back. And so she just looked at me and she said, talk to my dog Bear. Bear's a little Chihuahua. And she said, ask Bear why she's mad at my husband. And then she just looked at me and I just went, whoa. And so I did. I closed my eyes and I said, Bear, why are you mad at Kale? And immediately I got an image in my mind of the bathroom light being turned off and this big, scary, shadowy figure coming towards the bed. And then I saw Bear standing on a pillow barking at this big, scary, shadowy figure. And nothing else showed up. And so I said, well, this is what I'm seeing, fully expecting to be wrong. And Ellery said, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I was like, what? And she said, ask Bear how he can make it up to her. And I was like, okay. So I closed my eyes and I said, Bear, how can he make it up to you? And then I saw this picture of their kitchen table and Kale was sitting there and he was putting a bowl of milk on the floor for the dog. And I was like, well, milk's not good for dogs. That can't be right. But nothing else came to me. I was stuck with that image. And so I shared that image. And Ellery said, yeah, when he finishes his cereal, he always gives her the milk and she loves the cereal milk. And so I'll let him know and then they'll make up and everything will be great. And I was just like, what just happened? Oh my God. She confirmed everything that I shared with her. And in that moment, I knew this was possible for me. I had really done it. And that was a turning point for me. Up until then, it had been theoretical. And now it was really real. But the part of the story I haven't told you yet is that the day before this happened, I had cleared what I call a really big limiting belief. So that's an unconscious belief in myself that's holding me back from doing something. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the first video in this series because that explains it a little bit more. But my belief was that if I was an animal communicator, then people would have to take my word for what their pet was saying to them. And I didn't think people would believe me. And so the day before I met with Bear, I realized this. I realized that that's what was going on. People don't believe me. And then I thought, well, gosh, why do I think that? And I realized that when I was a kid, my dad would not believe anything I told him unless somebody else backed me up. So he would not just take my word for it. I had to have proof of whatever I told him. A friend had to be there, a newspaper story. I had to go get the weather forecast, like whatever it was. I had to have external proof of that was not me. It wasn't just my word. It was something else. And then I was like, well, that's just crazy. Like, why would he be like that? That doesn't make sense. I'm like the most honest person that I know. Why would he question something? If I was saying it, that meant I believed it, that it was true. It's not like I'm a liar. I don't go around making things up and trying to deceive people. And then I realized that it was the same with animal communication clients. If I was going to talk to their animal, I was going to be the best translator that I could be. I was going to report to them exactly to the best of my ability what I had received from their pet. I was trustworthy. I was honest and people can believe me. And that process was the key that unlocked this ability that had been inside of me all along. The next day, I had a conversation with Bear, and poof, now I was an animal communicator. It was miraculous. It was amazing. And those two pieces were equally important. Clearing that limiting belief and having that verified conversation with Bear. And I know that conversation with Bear would not have happened without clearing that limiting belief. So if you're an animal lover and you want to become an animal communicator or a better animal communicator, and maybe it hasn't been smooth sailing for you, or maybe you're even feeling stuck right now and you don't know why, or you don't know what to do to get unstuck, then I want you to stay tuned, because in this video, I'm going to break down my story that I just told you, and I'm going to share a powerful process for identifying and clearing any inner blocks that are holding you back from animal communication, so you can be the animal communicator you are meant to be. So who am I? I'm Dr. Cara, and I have been a professional animal communicator for 11 years. I'm the author of 3 best-selling books about animal communication and animal wisdom, and I'm the creator of How to Talk to Your Pet, the proven 4-step system that teaches anyone and everyone how to communicate intuitively with their pet or with any animal. And my mission is to help every animal lover become an animal communicator. And this is the second in a 3-part free training series where I am bringing all of my skills, tools, experience, and training in animal communication and spiritual psychology, and teaching this to so many people for many, many years. I'm going to bring all of this together to help you learn how to clear your blocks so that you can feel the excitement, the satisfaction, the deep meaning that comes with connecting with animals and understanding and getting closer to the animals that you love and helping them. So whether it's you're waiting to have your first animal communication experience, or it's hit or miss, or you want to become a better animal communicator, I truly believe that clearing your inner blocks is the key that changes everything and makes it all possible for you. So let's do this. Let's break this down. Remember, the best animal communicators are the ones who are the clearest channels for intuitive communication. And in the first video in this series, I shared the results of the survey. I asked you guys, what are your biggest obstacles? And 9 out of 10 of those obstacles that you identified were inner blocks. So we know that this is so, so important. And if we want to become good animal communicators, we need to clear our inner blocks, our limiting beliefs, those unconscious thought patterns that are holding us back or putting us into an old script, an old play, an old way of doing things, an old pattern that's just not helping us get what we want. So this process that I'm going to share with you, I learned from my professors at University of Santa Monica in the Master's in Spiritual Psychology program, and they call it working your process. So this is the healing process. So I'm going to go through and use my story as an example. If you want to plug in your block, your memories, go ahead. If you just want to go through this with me and see how it's done and then come back and watch again and go through, that would be awesome too. This is really powerful stuff. And this is really what I use on a regular basis whenever I'm bumping up against something that is a block, or I'm stuck, or I notice I'm avoiding or procrastinating on something I really want. I know that there's an inner block. There's an unconscious limiting belief holding me back. And this is the process that I go through. And this is the process that I teach my students in animal communication and other classes, because it is so powerful and it works. So step number 1 is to identify the block. So in my story, I identified the block as people won't believe me. If I'm a professional animal communicator, people won't believe what I tell them that their pet is saying to me. And step number 2 is to identify a memory related to that block that still has some kind of upset or charge, or makes you angry or sad or hurt, has an emotional component to it. You're not like, oh yeah, that happened. You're like, oh, that's happened. So the memory that I had was having dinner at my dad's house and telling him about my day. And instead of saying, oh, that's so great, I'm so happy you did that, he would say, well, who else was there? Well, who can verify that? And he'd ask for proof that we took the bus to a track meet or something like that. I'm like, what the hell? So that was my memory. That's the memory I identified. So step 3 is then feeling your old feelings from that event. So my feelings from that event were, I felt very belittled, I felt very small, I felt helpless, powerless, angry, frustrated, disrespected, misunderstood, untrustworthy. Like somehow I was this imposter who I wasn't really, like so completely not seen. And so all of those emotions, all of those feelings kind of came up, and I was, in the real time when it happened, I was angry at him. I remember being angry and frustrated, and I felt those feelings and I let them go. So that's step number 3. Step number 4 is to say what words you couldn't say back then. So I was a kid. I was maybe, this probably started 4th or 5th grade, this memory, and went on for quite a while, because I can remember the house where he lived when this all went down, and I can really go back in time to that. And so I was a kid. I couldn't just say, well, screw you. I am smart. I do know what I'm doing. You can trust me. I was like, whoa, my dad doesn't believe me. Maybe I'm not believable. But when I told you the story at the beginning of this video, I realized that I am trustworthy. I am honest. And that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, why don't you believe me? Why are you so, what's the word, like critical, or I don't know the word, but I wanted to say all those things of like, I don't understand why you don't believe me. I'm believable. I'm honest. I'm trustworthy. And I can't believe you don't see who I am. Why don't you trust me and believe me? That's what I would have said back then. So for you, it may be something else. It may be swearing at somebody. It may be saying the things that you can't say, like, screw you. I deserve to be respected. I didn't have that language back then, but that would be something you could say. Say what you didn't get to say at the time that this memory was actually happening. And then this next step, number 5, is really, really critical. And this is where you identify the judgments that you made against yourself during that experience. So in that moment, sitting at the dinner table, having to justify the story that I told, the events of the day, and trying to find a way to corroborate them with some external reliable source, I judged myself. Well, if I had to bring in this extra proof, then I must be unreliable. I must be untrustworthy. I must be unworthy of being believed. I must be not credible, not believable. Those were the judgments I made against myself in that experience. So that brings us to step number 6, which is to forgive yourself for the judgments that you made against yourself and anybody else involved. So for me, that would look like, and I literally repeat this phrase, it's like a set phrase for me. I forgive myself for judging myself as unreliable. I forgive myself for judging myself as untrustworthy. I forgive myself for judging myself as not credible, not believable. So any of those other judgments, I forgive myself for judging my father as a dick, for not believing me, right? Like whatever those judgments were, forgive yourself, because it's the judgments that we make about ourselves and others and the situation that holds that pattern in place and keeps us stuck in that time, in that level of maturity, in that level of power. So identify as many judgments that you made against yourself or anybody else as you can. Create a laundry list of them and go through. I forgive myself for judging myself as blank. I forgive myself for judging myself as blank. And then after you do each one, each of those forgiveness statements, state your new truth, because you've been operating as if this was true. And it's not, and it never has been. So now it's time to state the truth. So for me, my truth was, I am honest, I am trustworthy, I am credible, I am believable, I do my best, I work hard, and I communicate as clearly, as accurately, as honestly as I possibly can. Those were my truth statements. And so I went through all of that kind of in the background. I didn't share it in the first story because that would slow things down quite a bit. But that was the process that I went through. And look what happened. The next day, I talked to my friend's dog, Bear, and I had been trying animal communication for months and failing. I was getting nowhere for, gosh, like 4 months. I was really putting my best effort forward and I was getting butt kiss, nothing, zip, zero, nada, failure. That's what I was getting. So for me, this is why these two things go together. Yes, you need the training. Yes, you need the practice. Yes, there are skills and tools that you can learn that will help you. But if you aren't doing that inner work and creating and releasing, clearing those unconscious limiting beliefs, then all the training in the world is not going to get you where you want to go. We have to clear all this old crap that we have been piling on ourselves. So this is an amazing process. 7 steps. Identify your block. So here are those steps again. Number 1, identify your block. Number 2, identify a memory related to that block that still causes you some kind of upset. Number 3, feel those old feelings that you've been avoiding all this time and let them move out of you. Number 4, say the words that you weren't able to say at the time. That's another big release, right? Number 5, this one can take a little while and there can be a lot of them. So I tend to write these down. Identify the judgments that you made against yourself and others and the circumstances during that event. Whatever that experience was, whatever that memory was, identify those judgments. And then number 6, forgive yourself for the judgments that you made against yourself and others. And finally, number 7, state your new truth for each of those forgiveness statements that you already did. So it's that simple, and it really works. It's incredibly, incredibly powerful work. And because my mission is to help create and support as many animal communicators on our planet as I possibly can. That's why I wanted to share this with you, because I see so many people going through what I went through, feeling stuck, feeling blocked, not knowing what is holding me back. I really want this. What should I be doing? This is the work that we all need to be doing, whether we're just starting out or whether we're already animal communicators. This has to be in the regular process for us to be the clearest channels, the most effective animal communicators that we can be. So I wanted to share this with you. Okay, so hopefully you have identified a block. You maybe have a memory coming up. Go through the process and let me know how it goes. So let me know, did you clear a block? What was it? How did it go? How do you feel now? And if you're thinking, but I have so many blocks. How can I be sure that I'm finding them and clearing them? And how do I do that? Well, in the next video, I'm going to share my favorite way to organize all of this stuff and systematically clear blocks and obstacles from all the different parts of our lives. And that's the way to be the clearest channel that you can be, so that you're really clearing all of these limiting blocks, obstacles, beliefs, thought patterns, old habits from as many parts of your psyche as possible. And I'm super excited to share that with you. And that is in tomorrow's video. So check that one out when it comes out. And in the meantime, let me know, what block did you clear? How do you feel? You're on your way.